Hi,
Hi, I'm Zach,
I'm Braxton
and we are
from Old to New.
Now, today, if you recently saw our recent video, we did a review of
Spider-Man.
2002 Spider-Man, and now we are going to be reviewing the sequel,
Spider-Man 2 from 2004.
Yes, which considered by many, and including us, one of the greatest superhero movies of all time.
Yes.
It's one of the one of the very few movies where you can say the sequel is better than the original.
Yes. The effects are better, the
Storyline's better, the characters are more explored.
it's more serious.
Yes. Now we have let's go over the main plot. Continuing from the first Spider-Man, Peter Parker is continuing to live out a life as a superhero, but he's beginning to notice the strain it has on the personal side of his life.
Yes.
Such as he can't hold down a job, he's barely making it to classes on time, and he barely spends any time with his family or friends.
Yes. This movie explores the whole aspect of a superhero, of the superhero aspect and the more human side aspect.
Yeah, because that's another side. Like in recent Marvel movies, they show you oh, I'm a superhero and it's great now, but it seems like the only main problem is the villains. But but this one shows you there are other aspects,
the struggle between being the hero that you need to be
and
for the
living
series and
living your own life.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he can't even forget his own birthday. He barely.
Yeah. Sam Raimi directs this movie perfectly
Yes.
in this one, and Tobey Maguire is excellent as Spider-Man.
Yes.
Then the chemistry between him and Dr. Otto Octavius and Mary Jane and Harry and everybody else is really good in this movie.
And we have some notes from our viewing of it, and here's what we're going to say. I loved how now going through the plot points. Let's go to at least through the first act. First act. Okay, we've talked about he's going through a tough time, but now he's told by his friend Harry that he is working with Dr. Otto Octavius, who's developing a new energy device, and he meets him, gets to know him some more, and they kind of grow into a good bond. Now I feel like throughout the movie with Harry, we've seen him trying to. His main motive of this movie is to protect his father's legacy.
Yeah.
Because
and he's trying to find out who Spider-Man is, and he wants to stop Spider-Man because he hates him.
Because he believes that he murdered his father.
Yes.
He didn't, although he was indirectly responsible, but it was an accident.
It was an accident.
Now, at the demonstration of Dr. Octavius' new power supply, which involved attaching mechanical arms to his body, there was a power fluctuation, thus leading to the death of his wife
and destroying the inhibitor chip on the back of his neck that caused him to have control of the mechanical arms, and the chip got destroyed, and now he has no control over the arms, and they could possibly be taking over him.
Yes. And during this time, Peter has discovered that he's having glitches or sort of with his powers.
Yes. He'll swing through the city, and then all of a sudden his webs stop working.
He can't climb walls, and slowly losing his eyesight again.
And he's wanting to be there for Mary Jane, but
duty calls and he has to stop a crime
right before he gets the chance to be with Mary Jane.
And even when he tries to be there for her, he finds out she's moved on, she's getting married, and that caused after meeting with the doctor to discuss his power fluctuations, he figures that maybe he decides to quit being Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Now, here's some part. You talked about this. Now, the musical score throughout the entire movie, amazing.
Yes, great. In all three of these.
Yes.
The musical score, not just the main thing, but when
he's fighting.
Toward the end, when Doc Ock's been defeated and he's builds that giant web and he's in the web with Mary Jane and they're talking about how he can't be with her because he'll always be Spider-Man and Spider-Man will always have enemies, and he lets her go and she runs off to her fiance. That score is perfect.
Yeah,
great.
So poignant with a hint of Spider-Man-esque.
Yes.
But also, now, when exploring, like, the previous film, I noticed a lot of glaring similarities between Doc Ock and the Green Goblin in terms of their characters. Both were like, they're motivated by personal means in terms of, like, protecting their legacy and their future. Like, Green Goblin Norman Osborn wanted to ensure his company's success and, like, ensure, like, his legacy moves on. And Otto Octavius wanted to ensure, like, his reputation and ensure that his work goes on.
Yeah.
But also another thing is that Peter Parker saw both of these men before they became villains as like mentors and idols.
Yes, he loved both of them very much, and he really did look up to Otto Octavius. He was very influenced by Otto Octavius and wanted to meet him, so he got his friend Harry to set up a meeting between them.
And he wasn't even like just as like a scientific mentor, but like he was like an idol, like a mentor in terms of like just life.
Yeah.
Like he told him like don't waste your intelligence. It's not just a gift. You have to use it for the betterment.
Yeah.
And okay. It also explored the personal aspects of both a hero and a villain, because like it composes like the motivations, like what drives a superhero to do good, like the events in his life plus what's also going on in his life currently. Sometimes you get into a period where it's like, do I need to be the hero? Can I even still be the hero I need to be today?
Yes. And let's just say real quick, Alfred Molina does a great job as Doc Ock. He's a great villain. He can be very menacing at times.
While also sympathetic and intriguing.
Yes.
And I think that is why, and I'm so thankful, they're bringing him back for Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yes, and William Dafoe, they're bringing him back.
Yes. And Jamie Foxx. So many actors.
And Thomas Hayden Church, Sandman from Spider-Man 3.
Now, we also discussed psychological aspect of powers. Now, Peter Parker, throughout the film, I noticed that every time each moment that he loses his powers, there's after like a blow, like psychologically, like finding out like his girl, the love of his life is moving on, that his best friend hates him.
Yes.
His Aunt May is going through like a ton of financial trouble. It seems like all that stuff is just piling on him over and over again, that he feels like, I can't, like, psychologically, he just wants to be there for him, so, like, his powers, like, you want to be in their lives, so...
But, yeah, in another aspect, though, Harry doesn't hate Peter. He hates Spider-Man, but he doesn't realize that they're both the same
Harry
person.
is angry at Peter because he believes that, because Peter won't tell him his identity.
Yeah.
And... okay, now moving on to Act 2, Peter has decided to be Spider-Man no more, and, he gets to, like, he's caught up in school, he gets to see Mary Jane's play, but it still doesn't make a difference, in a way, because...
Yeah, it shows that, he walks by an alley and sees somebody getting mugged, but he turns the other way because he doesn't have his powers anymore, and he's quit being Spider-Man.
And a building catches on fire. He manages to save one of the tenants, but another one didn't make it out, showing like, showing that, like, maybe, like, I want to help people, but do I have to give up everything in my life to do it?
Well, yeah. Yeah, also, the Daily Bugle, they utilize Spider-Man quitting to their advantage. They find Spider-Man's suit in a trash can, and some guy just gives it to him, and J. Jonah Jameson's like, well, he's finally quit. He's given up. We got to him.
Yeah.
Ha ha.
Yeah. And like during that time, Doc Ock is like trying to rebuild his machine, and so he needs like the final thing from Harry, who funded the original project. So Harry decides, like, I will give you what you want, but you have to give me Spider-Man.
Yes.
And so he tells him, you can find Spider-Man through Peter Parker. Which I kind of thought that was kind of a sucky thing to do as a friend. Like,
well, yeah.
You put your friend in... It's like, even after, like, Doc Ock leaves, like, wait, don't hurt Peter. It's like, you didn't think of this beforehand? You literally just gave up your best friend to a supervillain.
He didn't know that yet.
Like, he, like, didn't realize it later. Like,
yeah, he gets Spider-Man, and he's about to kill him, and then he unmasks him, and he's like, oh my god, it's Peter.
Yeah.
I just nearly killed my best friend, and my friend, my father.
Yeah. And before that, we get like Spider-Man, like, he gets newfound confidence from Mary Jane, who's still feeling like, she wants to be with Peter, but Peter feels like, maybe I can't be with you.
Yeah, he doesn't. He wants to be with her, but the superhero aspect is like, I can't be with you because you'll always be in danger.
And then Doc Ock comes in, kidnaps Mary Jane to try to convince Peter to give him Spider-Man. And Spider-Man comes back, he gets a suit, and we get probably one of the greatest action sequences in superhero cinema of all time.
The train fight scene.
Yes. During that scene, it also demonstrates, like, not only, like, Spider-Man's, like, heroic action sequences, but his personality as well, because he just stops everything to save the train from going off the cliff.
And it also shows that there is still a lot of good in the world, because after he saves the train, he's about to just fall off the cliff.
They catch him.
And all the citizens in the train catch him, and they're just like, we won't tell your secret.
Like, they now know his identity, but, like, they're kind of like, they're just so thankful that he saved their lives that, we'll keep your secret for you.
Yeah. And it just shows how, like, not everybody's, like, mean-spirited like all the other movies try to say. They're still good people.
Yeah. And so Peter Parker goes on to rescue Mary Jane from Doc Ock. He starts finding Doc Ock, and he, like, reveals his identity to Dr. Octopus, and finally convinces him to take control of the arms and stop what he's doing.
Yes. And then, that whole scene happens, and then you get towards the finale, you have Mary Jane in this giant web, and Peter crawls towards her and is like, I can't be with you because Spider-Man will always have enemies.
Yeah.
And I have to let you go.
Yeah. And going back before that, like, this movie, like, it perfectly encapsulates, like, the good man to villain to hero again.
Yeah.
Through Doc Ock. Because it's like, he understands what he's doing is wrong, and in the end, he decides he doesn't want to die a monster, so he destroys his life's work, sacrificing himself to save the city.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that Spider-Man No Way Home, they are reportedly continuing this from that point, because I don't want him to go forward, go forward, like, redo his whole character again.
Yeah.
And in the end, Harry, like, he starts cracking psychologically, seeing visions of his father telling him to get revenge on Peter.
And it's teasing the new Goblin.
Yeah, he finds his father's workshop with all of his equipment and finds the serum.
And all the weapons, and he takes the serum, so
yeah,
we have a new Goblin.
And in the end, Mary Jane decides to leave her fiance and be with Peter, even knowing the risks, and he continues his life as Spider-Man, but now he's got more purpose.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to add?
Oh yeah, there was one other thing. I wanted to talk about, like, there was another part of this movie that I really felt. All the time he spends with his Aunt May, he can see, like, him struggling with, like, the guilt of what happened to Uncle Ben, but he's never been able to talk about it in the last movie.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
In this movie, we finally explore that aspect more when he finally revealed to Aunt May that he always felt responsible for what happened.
Yeah.
And, of course, at first she's upset, but she eventually forgives him, knowing that he's been going through that guilt for so long, and knowing that he never meant to what happened to Uncle Ben.
Yeah. This movie it's really good. It's for a movie that's 17 years old.
Yeah.
Now this is still considered to be one of the greatest superheroes ever made, and it's easy to see why.
Yes. And I will add one more thing. This is kind of like a joke thing for all of us, like, fans out there. I felt like this movie basically started off all the Spider-Man, like, movie memes. Because,
yeah.
Like, because you got, like, Tobey Maguire's Pizza Time, that J. Jonah Jameson laughing gif.
Yeah. Where he's like, can I get paid in advance? And he just starts laughing.
Yeah. And that's it.
That about does it. So what do you give a rating?
10 out of 10. All the way.
10 out of 10. This is Spider-Man at its height.
Yes.
This is, for us 2000s kids and even 90s kids, this is like the Spider-Man movie.
Yes.
So it's almost like this new No Way Home is Tom Holland's, it's his finale,
Yes.
but it's also like a fan service to all the people that grew up.
And a reintroduction
Yeah.
to all the characters.
So
and this actually movie hits special for you because you actually saw it in theaters.
yeah, this was the first Spider-Man movie I saw in theaters.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see the first one because I was only 2 years old, but Spider-Man 2 through,
all the other ones.
all the other ones I've seen in the movie theaters. So
for me, it started off. I saw the first two like on DVD and VHS, and then I've seen all the rest in theaters.
yeah, so this really hits with the nostalgia filter for me.
Thanks for listening to our video, and
We will see you in the next one.
Be sure to look out for our next review of Spider-Man 3.
All right.